All righty then, here we are. We'll get started right here with the gang on LinkedIn as well. And there we go. We're live, everybody. Welcome. This is magnificent, wonderful. My name is Bill Harvey. So this time of the year, what gets most frustrating for 99% of us, including the high performers that experience the seasonality that kicks around every time Black Friday arrives and American Thanksgiving this week. Happy Thanksgiving to all of us in the United States, and of course in Canada, they've already completed their Thanksgiving. This time of the year, we've got these little milestone markers that continue to distract our clientele, and that means the phone isn't ringing, the showroom doors aren't swinging, and the email bell isn't chiming, and you're not done. I want to share this much with you. You can do this. I can share with you the tactics and the strategies that I leverage going through the exact same thing myself in those years when then these situations did arise. So what I want to share with you is that it's not so much that you need to know how to do something better. For instance, whether you're an automobile dealer or a manager or a salesperson, the principles are exactly the same for all of you. You can leverage this for the entire team and coach them through it through one of your sales meetings. And then, of course, if you're an individual looking for that advantage, for you to be able to sell 10, 20, and 30 vehicles per month with predictable consistencies, that you can live your dream job. If you're struggling to find people to sell to, I mean, that's the number one complaint that clients of the Auto Dealership Academy group, the Six-Figure Manifesto program, I'll put a link below where you can join it as well. That's the number one thing that everybody asks for all the time. Bill, all I really need is more leads. If my pipeline was full of leads, then yes, I can buy your program. I will be selling. I'll be making money. I'll happily learn your closing strategies and tactics. But all I need right now is leads. And I want to share this much with you. Everything that you need and want is within you right now. For instance, when we look at ourselves and we leverage something called the mind map, if we look at the opportunities that exist to us, showroom is but one opportunity. The phone and e-leads, I'm going to put them all in one category. You may want to break it out and then you'll have 7 categories, but I put it into one because e-leads generally turn into a telephone call before they ever wind up in the showroom. So I put those 2 opportunities right together. So if you're looking for opportunities and ways to fill your pipeline and you're only focused on these 2, can you see why you're struggling? Can you see why it is so difficult not to be able to break through? If you come into the dealership every single day and just stare at the showroom or the street and the passing cars driving by every single day, can you see why you're creating the struggle for yourself? We'll get into it very shortly. The other opportunity that exists for you are repeat sales. Now, if you have not been in the business more than 6 months, then repeat are going to be a challenge for you. And I get it. I understand that. But recognize that every single person that you sold an automobile to probably has a second or third vehicle in the driveway, probably has other drivers that are in the driveway. I'm not talking about friends and family. I'm not talking about neighbors and coworkers. We'll get to that. But these repeat sales, I'm not suggesting for a second that you can renew the vehicle that you just sold them. But if you've been in the business 6 months or more, and you have some luxury, high demand, low supply clientele that purchase your high demand, low supply vehicles, you could put them what I call the 6 month plus a day club, where they trade in every 6 months. While it may seem ridiculous to you, it's not your money. You don't know what the motivation, the drive is. You don't know why these people would move up to the very same automobile again in the same package trim level, even with the exact same features, possibly in a different color. But even if they took the exact same color, you don't know why they would do that. And it could be the very simplicity that their behavior, their buying behavior, just leads them in that direction to show up at work, at home, in their neighborhood, parked beside their neighbor's driveway, or at the country club, the yacht club, whatever the social gathering is that they like to go to, and somebody recognized the fact that they have a brand new vehicle. Again, you don't know what the motivation is until you ask them if they would even consider doing so. So if you've been in the business for 6 months plus a day, you can do this. That's the message I really want to get through to you. If you don't think you can do this, you don't have the talk track, you don't have the confidence to be able to do so, book a call with me. I'll put a link down below to a discovery call, 15-minute call. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. I'll give you the talk track to open the door to a ton of conversation. And of course, if you've been watching, following along, I give those tactics out all the time, every single week, how you can have a more equitable solution with the people that you talk to. Now, here's the next opportunity that you have: referrals. Now, I know the majority of you are not going to want to do referrals. Not at all, not whatsoever. You know, you've probably done it in the past and you'd love to debate that with me at great length. And I'm happy to debate it with you. So again, there'll be a link below to a 15-minute discovery call. Let's go through it and tell me why referrals don't work for you. Regardless of what your referral program is, regardless of if you write them a check for sending somebody in, I think you should send them a gift for giving you a name and a telephone number. And then if you sell that individual, you send them, the person that is referring you, a really wonderful surprise and delight gift, thanking them for that opportunity. Then the next equation is the network that you belong to. Now, again, if you've been in the business for 6 months or even less than 6 months, if you've been in the country of either the United States or Canada for 6 months or even less, maybe you've moved to a different city and you're trying this new automobile sales job out as something to do because you like the idea of automobiles, you like the idea of high ticket, you like the idea of unlimited income based on your pay plan, whatever that might be. There is going to be people within your network. If you're new to the country, you would join a church, a social gathering of similar individuals from the country that you immigrated from. And this becomes what is an opportunity for you in the network. Now, there's nobody that would rather purchase an automobile from someone that they didn't intimately know that individual, how we think, how we act. Now, that when I say intimately know us, this is more about family. This is more about friends. This is more about your neighbors and your previous coworkers. And if you're coming straight out of college, as I did, and decided that you want to be an automobile dealer one day, you need to learn how to sell vehicles, manage the floor, manage the service, manage the parts department, to be able to manage the whole entire dealership and eventually dealer principal, which I accomplished my dreams and goal of being able to do so. Still an automobile dealer to this day. Then your network that you can reach out to, friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, previous colleagues at university and college, even if you're fresh out of high school, you can leverage your network to sell people to sell automobiles to people within your network, pardon me. And the reason that we don't do this is that it's work. Those individuals coming in don't want to pay what we want to sell it to them for, and they want to get it for bargain basement prices. And maybe you've tried this. Maybe maybe you've been in the business for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, and you're still struggling with filling that pipeline and these opportunities. And you've tried to get family in, and you gave them the best price, and they took it down the road and they got it beat by somebody else. Don't despair. You're not going to win them all. The point is, in order for us to sell 10 vehicles at a 1 in 3, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 closing ratio, you need to speak to 50 people. If you put 50 people in the buckets of showroom and phone and internet, when it is not happening in your particular region, your particular store, then you can see how goal setting becomes demoralizing and defeating. We're going to talk about that in a second here. So our network is a terrific opportunity for us to go after. And again, if you don't have the talk track, if you don't know what you're going to say to them, book a discovery call with me. I'll share with you in 2 seconds flat how you can open this Pandora's box of opportunity in your advantage to be able to fill your pipeline without even worrying about any of these other opportunities that do exist to you. And then, of course, we have the upgrades. And this is typically the service department. Now, it doesn't have to be just the service department. You could certainly consider upgrades as orphan customers within the dealership. As all retail entities have a high level of turnover, the automobile business is no different. And maybe you've already experienced that. Maybe you've been on the floor for 6 months or more, and you've watched a few people come and go. And what happens to their leads that they were dealing with at that particular time? Do they just go into la la land, dealership la la land? Are they just floating around uncontrollably throughout the entire dealership? You can ask the manager for those leads, and I'm hoping that if you're a manager or an owner watching this, I'm hoping that you have a process for distributing those unsold and sold leads so that we can get referrals and repeat back into the dealership, both sold and unsold. There's so many opportunities within the dealership that, look at this, if we add it all up, there are 6 opportunities for you to be able to fill your pipeline with people all the time so that you never have a dull, quiet day. Because at the end of the day, if your goal is to sell 1 per day, then you only need to have 4 to 5 leads per day. Now, you could be saying, Bill, that's huge. Even in the good times, even in Q2 and Q3 of the year, spring and summer of the year, we don't see that kind of volume of traffic. That's because you're only focusing on these 2 opportunity buckets. That is predicated on advertising. And if the advertising in your dealership, in your group, in your manufacturer isn't plowing advertising at a very expensive rate, then yeah, you're probably not going to see that level of volume. But you could see, and you probably will see, and again, you can call me if you want and tell me how your situation is different. You'll probably see 2 per day on average. So if you got 2 at a showroom and 2 at a phone leads, then it would be really reasonable, I think, for you to be able to add to that maybe 1 repeat and maybe 2 service department upgrades. Now, we didn't even talk about getting referrals. We didn't even talk about networking, all the stuff that you don't want to do. And this is the reason why I started the whole session off with. This is what got me dreaming up about it, and the conversations I'm having about salespeople, managers, and dealer principals, and the struggle that we experience on a cyclical basis, completely seasonal. And the worst thing that I possibly hear people say is, well, it comes around every single year, Bill. It'd be fantastic for us to figure out a way to have a private sale every single day, all the time, because that's really what we're leveraging here. This is nothing more than what the private sale did, nothing more than, it got me thinking about it yesterday. I received a telemarketing call from Scotiabank. Now, for those of you that don't know, Scotiabank is a bank in Canada, and it's one of our 4 leading banks right across the industry. And they do a lot of work with the automotive manufacturers, funding their consumer sales programs and lease programs. So I had purchased an automobile one time years and years ago through a dealership, and they coordinated the financing through Scotiabank, through their own manufacturer's entity. So it looked like the manufacturer's financing arm, but it was not. And lo and behold, here I am on the mailing list, the calling list, and I get this individual say, you've been pre-approved for a Visa. And I laughed at that because the pre-approval thing, if it was a tactic, was done eons ago. And what really made me giggle about it was I just had this conversation with a dealer last week. So the call was yesterday from Scotia last week about what can we do this time of the year that is inexpensive to free. So social media tops of mind. And that's what the conversation started off at. This conversation eventually rolled around to conventional mail. Why wouldn't we do a conventional mail blast? Well, in Canada right now, for those of us in the United States who may be not aware of what's happening in Canada, that they are on a postal strike. So Canada Post nationwide now is on strike, and at probably the worst time of the year, which is tactical for the union to decide now, Christmas time, Christmas cards, packages all being purchased online and being shipped to everybody. This is where they will captivate our attention to meet their demands and ratify the union's request, and everybody goes back to work. Well, at the end of the day, I'm not disqualifying the fact that conventional mail wouldn't be a good idea. I think it'd be a perfectly great idea to dive into AI and create some messaging content that we could leverage with all of these people this time of the year when they're expecting to receive Christmas cards. You could leverage a corporation like sendoutcards.com to you just simply send them your database on a CSV file, which is an Excel spreadsheet, and you pick the message, you pick the card, somebody else prints it, stuffs the envelope, addresses the envelope, stamps the envelope, and throws it in the mail, even though in Canada there is a postal strike, because eventually they're going to go back to work. Not to mention, I think they are, to my understanding, are continuing to work, but it's extremely slow. And obviously, we wouldn't want to rely on that as our only opportunity to fill our pipeline, driving people into the showroom. However, email will fill that gap too. But this thing with conventional mail is we can send out those pre-approval lists to our existing database to get repeat and referrals and bring them back into the dealership. It just made me laugh. Yesterday follows a conversation that I had with a dealer last week on this pre-approval process, which was a tactic leveraged in the early 90s. Customers don't know that they are approved for a loan. So wonderful opportunity for us to go down. Now, I want to talk about the myths that we all develop and create excuses for ourselves why this time of the year we can't sell 10, 20, and more importantly, 30 vehicles per month in this month of November, which is now really late for you to be able to do so. But I don't want to discourage you from being able to do so, because I think you can. Unquestionably, you deploy the tactics I'm sharing with you here. It's going to take a lot of time. You're going to be pounding the phone, maybe driving around in your automobile real fast to those really hot customers that you believe that you can put them together, make this a 30-car month. But next month, we've got a little bit of breathing room before December hits on, when will it be? Sunday. And of course, we're closed on Sunday for most of us. We'll be open on Monday. But even if you're working on Sunday, you can deploy these tactics right away, instantly, so that you can hit a lofty target that you may think is so outlandish, it's ridiculous. And you know why you think it's outlandish and ridiculous? And it reminded me of a book that I read by Anthony Robbins, Money. And what Anthony Robbins was sharing with us were how fund managers, these are the funds guys, these are the Ray Dalios of the world, these are the Warren Buffetts of the world, that they share with us how the markets rise and fall, rise and fall. And while I'm reading the book, I'm looking at it, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we experience individually at an automobile dealership. And rather than calling it a cycle of how we do our business and work in life, it's a sine wave. And remember, I've always made that recommendation that, if your career is like a roller coaster, then the Six-Figure Manifesto can solve that for you by minimizing the valleys, possibly lowering the peaks a little bit to create predictable consistency all the way along. But what really struck me as most relevant and helpful this time of the year to the clients that are part of the Six-Figure Manifesto and booking their coaching calls is that over here, when we are optimistic and start having some success with our business, where we're super happy, like euphoric happy, then something happens. And the thing that happens is we stop prospecting, right? We don't worry about the pipeline. And when we do realize that the pipeline is empty or dwindling, or the pipeline is full, but the customers are bad, now we start to get worried. And the worry that if we don't solve the situation, we don't buy some training, we don't attend some free training, we don't get our dealer, our manager to get training for us. If you're a dealer or manager and you're watching your team go through this sine wave all the time, then shame on you. If we don't mitigate this empty pipeline to avoid the worry squashed down within our soul, within our bodies, within our capacity, eventually becomes fear And that fear left dormant and not looked after eventually becomes depression. And how many times have we said that a customer can sense our depression? They can smell it coming out of your breath, which would be a commission breath. And that's where we just jump right to. Do you want to buy it? Do you want to buy it? Hey, you should come in and buy my stuff. When you start asking for referrals, as opposed to sharing with them how advantageous our system is, and we want to help you find people for me to get as good a deal and get looked after as well as I did with you. Well, we don't talk about any of that stuff. We just say, hey, look, we've got a referral program, pay $75, $150, $200, $400 if I sell that person. You know, if you know anybody, send them my way. And they don't, because we're desperate. The time that you start doing and leveraging these buckets is the worst possible time to be able to do so. If we looked back at here when we recognize that, just as Spencer Johnson wrote in his wonderful little book, Who Moved the Cheese, when the mice recognized that cheese was dwindling at a very quick rate within the room that they were eating, and they had to get back out in the maze, which is a metaphor for us working and leveraging those 6 buckets that I just shared with you seconds ago. And we've got to go and find more cheese, more opportunity. The humans just sat in the room until the cheese was gone, then wondered what had happened, and then just started digging in the concrete walls and digging in the concrete floor, which is essentially not doing anything at all. Which, if you are that individual standing in the showroom waiting for somebody to drive in, you can't wait to look after them, my heart goes out to you. I know what you're going through. I've done it as well. You need to stop. You need to get back out in the maze. You need to go looking for new cheese. And this is what happens with this sine wave. And it cycles over and over again. Look, you'll come out of the depression. You stay in the business long enough. If you've been in the business 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 30 years, talk to the seasoned veteran. If you're a seasoned veteran watching this, and you're like, gosh, how do I make this artificial intelligence thing work? How do I make Facebook work in my advantage? Everything that I see on marketplaces, other automobile salespeople advertising their cars, Car Gurus doesn't seem to be working for me anymore. Should I get a chatbot? Should I make a website? Should I have all of this stuff? And the answer is yes, 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 yes. But you need to have a plan in order to be able to accomplish that. Because if you all of a sudden start doing all of that work as you're falling down into here, and it starts costing you money or resources, and your time alone is resource and money, then you hit the bottom where you're like, I don't have anything more. I can't wait. I can't make my bills. My goodness, I talked to a guy the other day who he wanted to buy the program in the worst possible way, and said, I just don't have any money. I said, you don't have anything you can sell. You don't have anybody you can ask. You wouldn't even ask your dealer. He said, I don't have anything at all, Bill. Like when I get my draw, I got to go to payday loans and get some more money, or at least pay them for the money that they loaned me. My heart goes out to that individual. We do have a program. We do have a system for them. We have a solution. But this is the reality. And if you are going through this, if you know anyone else on your team that is going through this, please tell them to book a call with me. At least I can give them a couple of tactics that may work right now and rescue ourselves at the worst possible time of the year. You don't want to be looking at how to do this on January the 2nd or 3rd. Because you need to plant these seeds long before that starts to happen, so your pipeline is always full, and it's what drips out of the pipeline into the funnel. The funnels are the activities that lead to the sale, right? People have to be in the showroom or talking to you on the phone in order for you to be able to do an interview and then suggest a product presentation, demonstration, trade appraisal, and then close them. That's the funnel. We need to worry about the pipeline long before the funnel is ever activated. So this sine wave permeates throughout our career all the time. And it got me thinking, why? Why do we go through this over and over again? And more than asking why do we have to go through it, I got thinking about the myths. Now, do these myths resonate with you? Number one is that, well, you got to plan. Pardon me, you've got to at least set a goal for what you'd like to do. If I captivated your attention with sell 10, 20, or 30 vehicles per month with predictable consistency and get on track to earn a 6-figure income, great. I'm really happy I got your attention. That is terrific. But you can see that I set that goal. You didn't set that goal. I've set that goal. So what we want to do is make sure that, number one, You have a goal, and goals don't necessarily just have to be long term. So that's myth number one. All goals are long term. You could say, Bill, I get it. I know how to set goals. I know I need to use the SMART method. I know my goals need to be realistic. They need to be in the present. I need to see, visualize, and crystallize those goals in order for them to be able to materialize. But here's myth number two that goes part and parcel with myth number one. Your target is not your goal. How many of us think that our sales target is in fact our goal? Therefore, if you have a sales target given to you by your manager or your dealer principal, even by, if you're the dealer principal, the general manager, maybe it is the manufacturer, which is asking you how many you think you're going to sell this month, or you told them how many you're going to sell this month. If your target, let's say individually, is 6, 8, or 12 per month, any given month. Doesn't necessarily have to be this month, doesn't have to be next month, and this particular quarter is a little bit more of a struggle. But if you just aim for those numbers, then what do you think you're going to wind up with? How often do we hit our goals? So myth number three that is part and parcel with these two myths is that goals are unattainable. And for good reason, because this target imposed upon you is not really a goal. You can think this as more as an objective. And you know what an objective is, right? An objective is keep your job. So when somebody says to you, look, I need 6 from you this month, I need 8, I need 12, whatever you have to do, work the deal with me at the desk, get me involved with every single one, let me come in and do the turnover with you. But the objective is to keep your job. And this is the reason why we struggle to believe that 30 cars per month is possible and doable, because when it is unattainable, when we can't hit the goal 100% of the time, which is ridiculous to think of as well, that 100% just means that it is a target or it is an objective. You should only be hitting your goal 80% of the time, because without a lofty goal plan, a goal without a plan is nothing more than a dream. And while your dream of a lofty goal is a fantastic idea, I know what you're thinking, that 5 goals are demoralizing. And while I didn't want to make this session a goal setting session, and it is not, this is not going to be how to set your goals. It is a reality check, a reality session. That if you are not where you want to be this year already, in terms of volume, in terms of sales, in terms of income, getting ready for the joyous occasion that happens next month, then you really need to decide, how do we destroy the fact that I don't achieve my goals, and therefore planning of any kind is useless. So you can't possibly expect to achieve 30 automobiles per month. You'll always be working for someone else's dream and objective, targets. And therefore, while goals are unattainable, too lofty, the term doesn't even matter, because for most of you, it's 30 days, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. While goal setting, as you may or may not know, goal setting is most effective when we plan short-term, long-term meaning years and years and years down the road, which gives us a direction and a focus on where we want to go. It reminds me of a podcast that I just completed with the VP of an international dealer group, a super guy named Lee Wittick. Known him for a long period of time, done a lot of work for him, didn't do any work for him in the international dealer group that he was just with. And he was sharing with us and the audience, and you're welcome to watch it at the Auto Dealership Academy on YouTube. For those of you that are already on YouTube, you can catch that podcast there. He was talking about how And he's not telling us how to sell better, and he's not telling us how to manage a dealership. I wanted it about his career and what it was like and how he climbed the corporate ladder. And this may be some of what you would like to do as well. And this could be your goal, not necessarily be a salesperson, but like my goal was to own the dealership one day, which I recognize at the end of the day, we are all salespeople. That should be our goal, to sell X number of cars per month, each of us, all of us, all the time. But what Lee was talking about is how you need to plan. And the reason why most automobile salespeople don't plan, and this is a myth that planning doesn't work and it's useless, because when they do make plans, the plans don't materialize. And that just simply means that they had one plan. So if your plan, going back to our mind map, is, okay, no one's coming in the showroom, so I will sit right close to the phone. I've watched salespeople do this throughout my entire career, over 35 years in the business, to the point where at one dealership, I watched them take the telephone outside. Now, this is in the old days where there was a cord attached to the phone. Today, it would hopefully be a cordless phone, let alone they could call forward to their cell phone so they could walk around and pick that call up. But anyhow, they dragged the old telephone out, put it on the trunk of a car closest to the building, because that's how long the cord would go. And now they could stand on the lot and get an opportunity to greet a guest, or they'd get the opportunity to be able to pick up the phone in the event that nobody was coming on the lot, and they didn't have to hang around in the building waiting for guests to come on the lot. That's great. And I recognize that ambition, and I tip my hat to them for being creative. But at the end of the day, really, is that the most effective use of our time when we have all those other opportunities that I just shared with you seconds ago? Now, here's another myth that, goals. Do you ever find that goals are restrictive? Like, you set a goal of, I want to sell 10. And so by the, I don't know, the 20-day in the month of the calendar that you're currently working in, you've accomplished the 10 sales. Do you now find yourself, I hit my goal, I hit my target, so I'll just take it easy, and I'll just ride out this month, and whatever comes along, and it'll all be good? Or you find that goals are restrictive in the capacity that you just can't seem to accomplish them, that they limit your ability to climb out? Because if you have been selling 6 to 8 per month, and you want to sell, or you need to sell 30, how are you going to make that happen? And how often have you thought to yourself, okay, I need to do 30 this month, because at X number of dollars per automobile commission sales, this is how much I will make, and this will allow me to catch up, and this will allow me to create a magnificent life for my family and a joyous occasion this week and next month, and therefore my goal is now 30. And so where they become unattainable, demoralizing, they are the result of being restrictive. And therefore, what do you think that we do? Average, ordinary automobile salespeople just shut down, collapse, and just forget about it. And that is the sine wave that I was talking about. That's where the worry, the frustration, the fear, and the desperation kicks in, and customers see it. They hear it in our voice. They smell it on our commission breath. We don't do the activities as we take them, as they are falling through the funnel, to drip out the bottom as a delivery that we can get paid on. These are some of the things that I really think you have to look at when it comes to our goals, and how setting goals when times are slow, that's myth number 8. Slow times, goals are not doable. And we look at that from the perspective of, again, the showroom and the phone in and the e-leads that could materialize, that didn't, because of advertising and marketing and brand awareness. And whatever excuse that we've got based on Black Friday and Thanksgiving and then Christmas and holiday season and company parties, and the list goes on and on. At the end of the day, we sell a very luxurious item that anybody driving around out there on the roadway would love to have our product. Anybody that is riding on the subway would love to have our product. Anyone that is having to walk to work, I am absolutely certain, whether you live in the lower 48, the upper 48, or in Canada, especially in the upper 48 in Canada, as the weather is really starting to turn now. We've got snow on the ground finally. This is the first snowfall overnight we've had in a long time. Anybody that is having to walk to work, I am certain, would love to be driving in the comfort of their own automobile with the heat blowing on their feet and the radio playing their favorite podcast, music, radio, genre of any kind in their own little cocoon of protection and security with 8, 10, 12, 14 airbags, delivering them to the destination where they want to go, dry and warm and comfort. Anybody would love to have that automobile. And that is the picture that you must paint with everyone that expresses interest in moving forward to your automobile. This is how you sell 10 vehicles in a month where you may be selling 4 to 6 all year long. This is how you can go from 8 to 12 to 14 automobiles. What you're doing is, just as the podcast suggested, Lee, stepping off the curb with Lee. That's what I called it, because that's exactly what he said. He said, Bill, when I wanted to become VP of a very significant dealer group, he had been with several dealer groups. He shares a great story. Please be sure to watch the podcast. It's fantastic, riveting to hear him talk, because he's so down to earth. He's so humble. He's absolutely magnificent, wonderful. But when you look at his resume, when you look at his profile on LinkedIn, when you listen to him talk, you get the feeling that it was all a cakewalk for him. Like, he climbed that corporate ladder in the retail automobile business, which you know how difficult that is with the turnover that we have and people moving around all the time. He climbed it intentionally. He climbed it predictably, and every step was consistent with the last one. He went from selling cars, record sales selling cars, to the finance and insurance office as a manager, a business manager, to becoming an assistant sales manager, to becoming a sales manager, a general manager, and eventually VP of an international dealer group of well over 100 stores, which is, I tip my hat to him. I know how hard that is to do. But the message that he was delivering up to us that we had not scripted. Remember, this is just a conversation. It's two guys chatting that are both intimately familiar with the retail car business, that are both aligned in terms of what we need to do. I just wanted to get his story. His story was, you got to step off the curb. Now, before you step off the curb, we need to know where we want to go and how we want to do it, because each step that he took, the fascinating part that really captivated my attention, I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, and big spoiler alert here, was that he did it, each one of those steps he did for less money. He didn't do it for the title, don't get me wrong. He did it for less money to achieve the title, do the job, and accomplish his lofty dream, long-term goal of being a dealer principal, which I think he has now set that aside, maybe until his kids have graduated university and gone through and then expressed some interest in the business. And he could be waiting for them to say that they're not necessarily interested in the retail car business before he decides to purchase his own store. But he certainly does love running large dealer groups and motivating, coaching, and mentoring both general managers right through to sales managers and salespeople alike in all departments of the entire dealership. And I just wanted you to hear that term, stepping off the curb. Stepping off the curb, we don't do blindly. If we utilize that physical metaphor, we definitely want to look both ways on the street before stepping off the curb. And looking both ways before stepping off the curb is the plan. Without a plan, life is nothing more than a dream. And while we need to dream and dream big, and I want to encourage you to do so, then formulating a plan in order for you to accomplish maybe just the necessities, such as the break even. When you look at how much money that you want to make, especially now that we've got the time to be able to do this, you've got the time to be able to do training. You should be doing a ton of training right now through these days and weeks and months where the cyclical cycle of automobile sales slows down, and we have the opportunity to test so many of the tactics that these fantastic teachers, trainers, authors, speakers have come up with out there, including myself. And if you want firsthand what works, coming from a guy that was a dealer principal, okay, I didn't sell automobiles and then decide, oh, I want to be a trainer. I graduated with a degree in automotive marketing. It is right there. And then became a dealer principal. That is and that is still currently my business to this day, registered business, where I buy my business license as an automobile dealer in my particular city. And then I went from sales to sales management to general manager to dealer principal of a franchise, a new car franchise, and absolutely loved it. But what I did recognize was all those steps along the way, as I was implementing this system of 3 phases and 9 steps to overcome these 8 myths that we all struggle with. And I've seen them throughout the test of time. They really haven't changed at all. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment below or book a call with me. I'd love to talk about it with you. It is so feasible and doable to overcome these myths in order for you to accomplish what you want. If you want to get into management, you got to show them that you can sell. If you want to own the dealership, you need to show the manufacturer that you can sell. That's firsthand, right from me when I went to Chrysler and they said, Bill, why should we even consider you over everybody else? I was very young at the time. I was in my late 20s at the time when I got my first new car franchise. And I said, because I can sell automobiles, cars, trucks, and vans really, really well. And it created a little bit of a giggle and a laugh, and they took me seriously, but they did believe me as well. And I'm sure that that is what earned me the opportunity to be able to get that. You can do this too. I can help you. More than happy to show you exactly what worked for me. But at the end of the day, in order for us to be able to get to those lofty dreams and goals, blowing away the objectives of maybe just 6 to 8 or only 12, if you've been in the business and you're a high achiever and you're struggling to maintain double digits, it's probably because you're not looking at the opportunity buckets and you're recognizing, maybe now you recognize that sine wave and that constant flow of up and down, which influences your decision in order for you to be able to help customers make the decision to purchase an automobile. Maybe you don't believe that every shopper is a buyer. I can walk you through that and I can take you through it. There's unquestionably every shopper is a buyer, and they're buying one of two things. If they're in the showroom, on the phone, or emailing in, they're either buying the trade-in that they're currently driving, which you would like to see them trade in, or they're going to buy your new automobile. Every shopper is a buyer, unquestionably. You don't make any money when they buy their own trade because you didn't create the excitement and enthusiasm to help consummate that deal and put it together. Every shopper is a buyer, unquestionably. My name is Bill Harvey with the Auto Sales Academy here on Facebook, the Auto Dealership Academy on LinkedIn and on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you thoroughly enjoyed this. And again, if you want to know more of the tactics that work at this time of the year with the 4 different buyer profiles, the buyer behavior profiles, because if you can't chameleon yourself to that specific individual, then you're talking to a wall. You're just speaking to hear yourself talk. You need to show them how much you care before, and they need to understand how much you care before they can ever consider you as their salesperson to buy the vehicle and care how much they can help you develop as an individual. It is a two-way street out there. Book a call down below. If you want to know more about the 6-figure manifesto, there is no Black Friday sale. There is no great big promotion. You don't have to worry about getting it now or not getting it later on. That is not how we work. Integrity is utmost important to me and throughout the company. So book a call. The best time for you to be able to do this, the best time for you to be able to hit your goals and your targets was yesterday. Second best time is right now. So click on the link below, book that call, and let me help you achieve your dreams with predictable consistency, minimizing that sine wave, never getting that fear and that depressed state and wondering, oh my gosh, What else is there out there? If I don't sell automobiles, what am I going to go to? What job am I going to do? You have an incredible job. It's not a job, it's a career. A career is completely different from a job. And whether you are the dealer principal or the manager or the salesperson watching this, it's exactly the same thing. As a salesperson, this is your business. As a manager, your department is the business. As an owner, it's obvious. This is your business. Again, my name is Bill Harvey with the Auto Dealership Academy, the Auto Sales Academy here on the private members Facebook group, and the Auto Dealership Academy on LinkedIn. Click on the link below. Feel free to reach out to me. Happy to talk. Won't sell you anything. If you want to know more about the manifesto, simply ask. And then, of course, I can schedule a demo and share with you all the details and how we have two, not one, but two guys selling in and closing and earning in 7 figures as automobile salespeople. And they are not the dealer. They are not related to the dealer either. And one is at a Chevrolet store and one is at a Mercedes-Benz store. I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye for now.